Good morning. It's 9 o'clock. Welcome to the October meeting of the Riverfront Design Committee. The first item on the agenda is roll call, please.
Paul Goodman.
Present.
Anthony Black.
Here.
Kenny Dennis.
Here.
Brian Doherty. John Joyce.
Here.
Don Casperite. Richie Splitt.
Here.
David Yost. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. The next item of business is the approval of the minutes of our last meeting, which was on September the 4th of this year. The minutes were in your packet. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or changes? Otherwise, we'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Blatt, seconded by Mr. Splitt. All those in favor? Aye. Motion approved. Item 3A, cases withdrawn. Item SRCA-14-00008 at 2600 West I-40 Highway. I assume we need a formal motion to approve that. Anyone care to make a motion to accept the withdrawal of this particular item?
I move to accept.
Second. By Mr. Splitt, seconded by Mr. Joyce. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Thank you. Note the arrival of Mr. Casper. Item 4, continuous requests. There are none. Item 5A, consent docket. Item SRCA-14-00013 at 1500 West Reno Avenue. This is, as I said, a consent docket item. The information is in our packet if anyone has any questions or comments. Otherwise, that is approved on the consent docket. Item 6, cases for individual consideration. There are none. Item 7A, other business. Oh, I did not. I didn't think we needed one. Okay. I beg your pardon. We need a motion on the consent docket. Item 5A, is there a motion for approval?
I'll move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Blatt. Seconded by Mr. Casper. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Thank you. I apologize for that oversight. Moving too quickly. Item 7A, other business. PC-10399 at 1204 South Youngs Boulevard. Lisa, do you have any?
This is the Capital Baptist Association runs a medical clinic, and they need more parking for it, and there's a vacant lot adjacent to it that they would like to make into a parking lot, but a standalone parking lot is not an allowed use for that parcel, and for other reasons described in the staff report, it can't be considered accessory to the building they're trying to serve because it's medical, and medical is not allowed under the current zoning. So the applicant has agreed to, or has offered to rezone it to allow the use, and in a preliminary design, they have shown all the required landscaping that the river guidelines would require. The design of the parking lot and landscape screening itself is administratively approvable. So in this item, we're asking for the commission's vote to recommend the rezoning, but then the parking lot itself will be administratively approved sometime after the rezoning.
Okay. Good morning. Would you like to state your name, please?
Good morning. Mark Grubbs on behalf of the applicant, 1819 South Morgan Road. This actually has a little bit of history. It started some time ago when the Capital Baptist Association approached us. Was back when Ms. Montgomery was still with us, and we were informed that this parking lot could be administratively approved and put on this property as is. We since did a little bit more, got a little bit deeper into it, and have found out that staff does not agree to that. So when we originally made this application to staff, after Ms. Montgomery was gone, they originally thought that this would go to support the church to the west. What is currently taking place is the building to the south of where we are proposing this provides several different uses, and I'll just kind of go through those with you real quick, if you don't mind. It provides free ministries to the community from the facility. It's a clothes closet, it's a food pantry, it's a pharmacy, it's an AM medical clinic, it's a counseling service, it provides male and female hygiene. There are evening services such as prescription refills, dental clinics, senior prescription refills, medical clinic. They're on certain days, of course, and an OBU children's sports clinic. And starting in October, it'll be a women's health clinic as well. In discussion with staff reviewed this and did not think that this, if it was religious in nature, but from our perspective, it is. It's a ministry. It's an outreach to the community. All services are free. And my understanding that if it was religious in nature, it could go on the property as zoned. We didn't object to that. We said we would come to you and ask for the rezoning to an O1 use that would allow for the standalone parking. Not really going to be standalone. It abuts the property it's going to primarily serve to the north. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, but we'd ask for your recommendation for approval to the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you have any comments from the staff?
I do not have any additional comments in addition to
Anyone?
our recommendation of approval.
I've got two questions, and first, I'm 100% in support, and I'll make the motion if I have to. But I'm curious about, one, we're allowing them to put themselves into a rezoning that facilitates what they plan to do, but are we opening up if we do a PUD, we could say, and I'm not asking for that we can make it specific, because there are other things within that rezoning that might not be allowed, that now this property has been opened up with this new rezoning for things that we might be saying we've allowed the rezoning to occur, but there's things that we do not believe can occur in the future, and I'm not trying to project the future into it. The other thing is that are we setting precedent? Are we in essence, and do we need to make a statement in our motion that we are fully in favor of this for its intent and use, but that doesn't mean that when another party comes along that they can say, well, we want to put in a parking function on this property for an entirely different use, but refer back to this instance in which we did the right thing for this character. So I want to make sure that we're not setting precedent for somebody else to come and leverage their desire against us, and I'd like to make sure that there's nothing in the rezoning of this property that in the future could be used to change its use. Now it's under a zoning that the use is no longer allowed, but we're held to the fact that it's been rezoned. So those are my two questions. Are we opening ourselves up with the rezoning, and are we setting precedent with respect to the parking lot? And if we're not doing either of those,
I'd be happy to address some of those concerns,
Okay.
if you like. Those are great questions that staff took into consideration with this recommendation of approval. We looked at the adjacent land uses that are existing and also looked at some of the existing surrounding zoning classifications, which include residential and commercial and industrial uses. So in that respect, a request to rezone this existing parcel, which is currently zoned for residential. In that respect, this request to rezone it to office does represent a more restrictive use compared to surrounding land uses and surrounding zones. It does represent a less restrictive zoning classification considering what's on that property now, but considering everything that's around it, it is still could be considered more restrictive than surrounding land uses. So
Yeah,
that helps to address your concerns.
Right, this parcel, and we didn't include an image, maybe we should have, if you zoom out to several blocks, this is the only R4 in a several block zone. So you can see, it was ironic, unfortunately, to the applicant that the next lot over is a junkyard, and that's allowed because it's an I use, but that corner, the vacant corner, could, since it was R4, could not be a parking lot. And that was...
This is all I, too, and this is R4, yes.
So, and across the street, the church is not an R, and everything to the west is a mix of I. So it just happened that this lot wasn't.
I'd go
outlier.
on to further state that, well, we've already submitted, plans representative of what we're doing. If anything else were to be done within this rezoning, it would have to come back to you, and at that time, I think that can be addressed, but...
Mark, could you speak? You guys, we did talk about you could do a spud.
Yes, and we went back and forth with the city on that. I discussed with JJ, planning staff, and with Ms. Cronster that whether or not to do the spud, and JJ actually encouraged that we just do the 01. So he thought it'd be a more simple deal. So.
Okay.
To circle back around to your initial statement, yes, every time a variance is recommended, it opens up potential precedent. A meeting or two ago, when we looked at the Webster School landscaping, and you guys asked in the motion something along the line with a specific finding that, because you wanted it recorded for posterity, that there was a reason why you felt it was appropriate. Yes.
And also, I'm sorry. Also to build on the conversation of requirements, site development requirements for the site, site development requirements on that site that the River District overlay requires, there won't be anything less with a rezoning to office. There will still be requirement that sidewalks are installed. There will still be the requirement that street landscaping is installed, and the requirement that landscaping around the perimeter of the proposed parking lot will be installed. So there will be site improvement requirements that will be required with the approval of the site plan, which, as Lisa said, will be done administratively, but those will be things that we'll be looking at. They're things that are required and things that will still be required with the rezoning to office.
Okay. Tony, anything else on that? Anyone else have any questions? Anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make the motion. I do want to make the motion that, considering the specific circumstances of the case and not trying to establish precedent for future cases, I make a motion that we approve as submitted. Thank you.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Blatt, seconded by Mr. Caspert. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much for your time. Item 7B, we have the 2015 meeting schedule in your packet. It says discussion and possible action, so I assume you wish us to approve this. Anyone care to make a motion, or anyone have any comments on the listed schedule of meetings? Moved by Mr. Split. Seconded by Mr. Blatt. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Thank you very much. Item 8A, we have a presentation by Mr. Blair Humphreys with regard to the upcoming proposed Wheeler District.
Yes, staff has met with Mr. Humphreys several times over the last couple of months, and I know you guys have at least seen in the press the plans for Wheeler District. Obviously, this committee will be involved on some or many levels in the development and approvals for the site. So we asked Blair to come in and give you a presentation.
Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. As mentioned, Blair Humphreys, really excited to be with you here today, and excited to share with you what we're working on as part of the Wheeler District. Viewing this kind of as a preliminary presentation, updating you on the process that's taken place over the last couple of months, and giving you a sense of where we're headed and on what schedule that'll take place. If you're not familiar with the particulars of the site, this gives you kind of an overview of where our property is located. It includes the old downtown air park, which we acquired in 2006, as well as an additional 70 acres to the east that we acquired from Chesapeake last spring. In total now we have approximately 155 acres, 130 of which is north of Twin Creek on both sides of Western Avenue, and that is really the core of the Wheeler District Development site. You can see here I've overlaid the MAPS 3 Central Park Plan, just really demonstrating, I think, the exciting connection that this portion of the river is going to have to downtown. Really, this process starts back with the 2002 Strategic Action Plan that was developed by Jim Hasenbeck and Studio Architecture, along with a number of key stakeholders throughout the city. If you look at that plan, it imagined a mixed-use, active, vibrant center with a range of housing, retail, and activity on the air park site and on the land across the street surrounding Western Avenue. And that's exactly the intention that we have for this site. In fact, that plan is really useful. It talks about a couple of details that I'll get into later as we push through. Ultimately, the plan's about creating a real neighborhood on the site, and this is perhaps because of the amount of land that's there, and under single ownership, it's one of the most significant opportunities outside of Coeur d'Alene to do that along the river. A neighborhood that has a range of housing. It has everything from townhomes to single-family homes. It's connected. It's walkable. It's a place where people will have strolling shops and retail, and also a place where people can get out and enjoy public spaces and patio dining and take advantage of the natural amenities that the site has a significant amount of, both on the river trail system that we're excited will now connect to Hefner Lake and throughout the city, but also in the great parks that exist in that area. It will be both natural and urban in terms of the public spaces, and we hope it'll be a new generator of activity and vibrancy, much what we've seen in Midtown with H&8 and in Plaza District. We'll begin to see that on the south side of the river in Wheeler and Capitol Hill. It's been said that